Okay, are we good?
We're good.
Okay, I am calling this meeting to order. The very first thing we need to do is the adoption of the agenda. I do not feel like, do we need a motion and voting for that or just the minutes?
Just the minutes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm calling the adoption of the agenda. Did everyone have a chance to look it over?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So next we need to do the approval of the minutes. Hopefully you guys got those. Thank you so much, Amber, for typing all those out for us. Does anybody have any corrections or changes that need to occur? If not, can we have a motion to approve them?
I make a motion that the minutes be approved.
All right, that was Doris. Do we have a second?
Am I allowed a second since I did them?
Oh,
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
perfect. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Maybe
Aye.
indicate with your hand. Wonderful.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The minutes are approved. Holly, do we have any public input that came in?
There was no public input.
Wonderful. Okay, we are moving into introductions and connections. Oh, perfect. Thank you for that. Well, we were going to do an icebreaker or some sort of connective thing. I say let's really quickly maybe just say our names. And because this weather is very chilly, let me know if you'd rather vacation on a snowy mountain in a cabin or at the beach. I can tell you right now, my name is Michelle and I would be at the beach. I can't really think of anything else, but why don't you guys just share that? Oh, and then I think if you guys, super helpful on the agendas, it has which it's up at the top. So I am a parent member. And so I don't know that we necessarily need to indicate that, but yes, would love to hear if we can just kind of I might, if you guys are okay with it, I might just call on you. Does that work?
Yeah.
Ryan, you're up first. Why don't you tell me if you'd rather vacation at a snowy mountain or beach?
So I'm Ryan Byrne. I'm a medical member. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. I grew up in Wisconsin, so the answer always would have been a beach, but now that we're at the beach, I'd say a mountain and snow.
I love it. All right, thank you. Doris, you're up next.
I'm a clergy and I love the beach, but I just always had this fantasy of being up in the mountains and all of the snow. So I think I'd say the mountains, even though I'm afraid of height. A helicopter will have to take me up there.
Oh, I'm a car for sure. Amber, what about you?
As much as I hate the cold, I think I would be okay with the mountains right now. A little fire going, skiing, I could do that.
Nice. Holly, what about you?
I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
I am an educator. That's the position.
Perfect. Holly?
Yeah, I agree. If it's going to be cold, might as well just be in the mountains. Let's do a fire, a hot cup of tea.
Do any of us think we're getting snow next week? That might happen. Maya, you are up.
Hi, I'm Maya. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I'm a student. I'm a senior at Charleston County School of the Arts, and I would definitely prefer to be in the snowy mountains.
Nice. Maya, I'm going to ask you one more question since you're at the School of the Arts. What is your focus?
I am a vocal major, so I sing at school.
Nice. Any genre that you prefer?
I really love musical theater. We do a musical every year, and that's one of my favorite things.
Nice. Thanks. We had to do like more connective questions at the last meeting, so I was putting you on the spot. Thank you for participating. Amy, what about you?
Nope. Hi, my name's Amy. I'm here as a community member. Can you guys hear me?
Mm.
Okay, good. I hate the cold as well, but I think I'd take the mountains as long as I don't have to go anywhere and I'm free of all my responsibilities. That'd be fine.
Nice. Christopher, you're up next.
I'm Chris, and I am here for the teacher, teach at Lambs Elementary. And I lived in New York State for 33 years. So I moved here because of the nicer weather. So I enjoy the beach.
Nice. And then Maria.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria. I'm here as a parent. And right now, I would choose to be in a warm beach. In the summer, I would probably choose to be in a snowy mountain.
Nice. I don't think did I miss anybody? Okay, I think that's everyone. Thanks for participating. Okay, do you guys all have your binders handy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Holly, for putting all these things together. So Holly and I met and we were wanting to just review the committee responsibilities of the things that we are responsible for when we nominate ourselves, but when we are elected to the Health Advisory Committee. I feel like that is on where is that? Is that determined by our bylaws, Holly? What our responsibilities are?
I'm gonna put you on hold. Dr. Davis is calling. Some of our members are actually the board members, so at the board room right now. I guess they didn't get the email, so just give me 1 second. Keep going, and I'm gonna handle this and see if I can get them on the computer.
Okay. Okay.
Michelle,
Yes.
it looks like the duties are in the second section. There aren't page numbers, but it's the first part after the bylaws. There's the election of officers, and then
Yeah.
the duties of members are after the executive secretary.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I think Holly actually mentioned this last time. I don't know that we've ever had a problem with attendance, but the goal and the hope is that we can all attend meetings. I know that sometimes, like especially over Zoom, it can be a little bit more convenient, but we do want to try and be meeting in person when possible. I will try my best to get the agenda out on time, and Amber is really great at sending the minutes very quickly. I would also say if after a meeting you guys are wanting to review the minutes before they come to the next meeting, if you want to go over those, we can do that. We can send those out a little bit sooner. And then one of the things too that I think we mentioned last time that I think would be super helpful is actually reviewing the curriculum is reviewing the curriculum that we do teach in the schools, or that we do provide for the schools to be able to choose. So that when we are voting on things, when we're evaluating the curriculum, we are able to kind of come with an understanding of what we're actually voting on. The other thing too would be if there are any like other items for consideration. I'm trying to think of some examples where other members of the HAC have brought other items. Sometimes there will be a story in the news. Sometimes there'll be a concern that you guys have heard from like another parent or another teacher that you're like, hey, this might actually be something that we could discuss as a group. That is where that comes in, and then letting myself or Doris know. Doris is our vice chair. If you guys are unable to make a meeting. Oh yeah, okay. So that it looks like the duties of members is like as a group, and then the duties of individual members. I really want to use our time wisely, and I do feel like we have a kind of a stacked agenda, so I'm not going to go through all of these, but I something that I feel very strongly is that we all wrote letters to the board. We were all elected and chosen by the board for different reasons, for our medical, for being a parent, for being a teacher, for being clergy. And so I think that what's really unique about our group is that we get to represent those interests that we have as the professionals that we are, and professional students, right? But as that, but also keeping in mind that we represent all of the students in Charleston County. And so our goal is always to be considering what is the best, while also kind of holding to the role that we play on the team, whatever our profession or specialty or expertise is. So South Carolina is one of the states. Not all states require a comprehensive sex education, but South Carolina is one that requires it. And so also just familiarizing yourself with what like the law actually says. So that is kind of where we can have a personal opinion about maybe the curriculum or an image or something that comes to our attention, but understanding like what the law is requiring of us is also, I think, really important. And then when it says like the HAC rules of conduct, I know at the end of last, I want to say season, we're not a television show, but at the end of last term, maybe we talked through and even in the last meeting, courtesy when attending meetings, when being respectful to stay in the order of the agenda. Holly's has been super helpful, like helping to estimate how much time we need for each individual item. And so really trying to stick to that, and then maybe putting a pause on something if we go over, which we're already over. I guess I'm kind of already going into number 6 on the agenda, but rolling into the committee responsibilities is being respectful, being on time. And if we do have questions or opinions or just personal statements, making sure that we're keeping them in line with whatever we're dealing with on the agenda and not popcorning. Okay, Holly, I'm not sure if you
the only other thing I want to chime in on is just the
Yeah.
importance of being present when the meetings are scheduled. Everybody's one that was appointed to the committee to serve and provide your representation of the membership piece that you're holding. And so if you can't be here, it's important to let me know that you're not going to be able to be there, so Michelle can be prepared and so we can understand how to represent your position when you're not there. But the bylaws do state if you have 3 absences in a row, the committee can vote to remove that member and appoint someone else if that's needed. So if you get into the point where the commitment's too much and you can't be here, please let the chair know so that we can make arrangements to make sure that that spot is filled and the representation for that membership is being created fairly. That's it.
Wonderful. And I apologize, y'all. I just got a kitten, so I'm just making sure my house is staying intact. Okay, so we are going to move on to new business. The first thing we have is the first. Is the data from our first semester growth. So that would be collected. And Holly, do we want to make any like the data is not public, right? Not for public consumption. Oh, I can't hear you.
It's not public. I just sent it to each of your email. I am going to pull it up. As you can see that I just did that on the share screen so you guys can see. This is just, again, data that we're sharing just from first semester from our students. And we tried to do a breakdown of the comparison from 20 last year, 2023, 24, to what we have going on right now. And so when you open this data on your own, and I want you to take time, I'm going to give you guys a homework assignment because it's hard to do this on sharing a screen and talking over the computer, but take time. I want you to look at the data that we've collected so far from our schools, pre and post assessments, and the comparison that we have from last year to what we have so far. So we're only halfway through the school year. We haven't met all of our students yet, so the data will look a little bit different, but it'll be pretty much on par. So these are just notes here that have already been put together for you to understand what the data is when you go through and look at it. And then when you click on the sheet here on the bottom where it says overall, it's going to take the overall data that we've collected from last year, and then it compares it to the next side to what we have this year. So you can kind of see the growth. Everything in green is positive. That's the growth that we're seeing in our students. Obviously, our goal is we want higher pre-test percentages as we grow with our students and we meet them over and over. And then we want our post-test to continuously stay high. So please take time and look through that. And I want you to jot down reflections, questions you might have that is coming out of this data that we have. And then we have just high school separated with some notes on the side. And this is separated by high school with their data. Again, this is not shared data. It's not public. So please don't pass this on to anybody. And then again, this is our middle schools. So I'm going to pull out of this now and move back to the agenda. So what I would like for you to do, again, homework assignment, is look at that data and make some reflections of what you see, some goods, pros, questions you might have. The next thing that I put on the agenda that I wanted to have a comparison, another homework assignment, are two different reports. So one is their surveillance report these are from the Department of Public Health. And the first one is for just STIs, HIV, and AIDS around the Low Country. Look through that and look at their data. And I want you to make some references on trends that you see within the Low Country area and how that might compare to our data and how our kids are learning, and make a reference. Maybe if you see some gaps, what would you like to consider our curriculum to have a higher focus on, if you think anything. And then the other piece that I put on there, also from the Department of Public Health for South Carolina, is their most recent fact sheet about HIV and AIDS. The other one also did include other STDs such as gonorrhea and syphilis, but in HIV, those are the only 3 infections that were listed specifically in those 2 data reports. But I just thought it would be interesting for y'all to take that comparison. So that's really my drive for this committee in between now and March, is look at our data, look at those 2 fact sheets from the Department of Health for South Carolina, and write down your thoughts and some questions and maybe some ideas of what you consider would be top priority when it comes to the curriculum that we're serving with our students. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know it's a lot of reading material.
Are you wanting us to do that right now or for a future meeting?
No, I don't want you to do this. Is between now and March. So when we come back in March, and I will have this typed up in an email too. Michelle will send that out to you, like what the specifics are with all of this data that we're looking at. Important part of looking at all this data too is getting us ready to start looking at other curriculums and using our evaluation tool as well. That's in that book that you have. And so I'm kind of moving on to number 4, if that's okay, Michelle. Does anybody have any questions before I start talking about number 4?
I was just gonna say, do you know on in our, oh, the evaluation checklist is number 6. I don't know that many of you, I don't think that we did this last time, but if you want to kind of look through it, like you would look through the curriculum and actually score it. And then I believe Holly needs to collect those evaluation sheets, right? So that she can keep them.
Correct. So everybody in the binder, there is a section for evaluations. So whenever we review a curriculum or supplement or any type of resource that might be used in our schools, the committee is responsible for reviewing that and creating an evaluation. And then that evaluation as a whole, the committee as a whole makes a recommendation of whether, yes, we want to allow our schools to use this resource or no, and that would be passed on to the board. But that checklist is on par with what the state says should be checked for when reviewing any type of curriculum, specifically in comprehensive health education. So please make yourself familiar with that, because as we get into March and April, we're going to be using that when we start looking at curriculum resources that for our kids, students with developmental disabilities. And we brought this to the table about 2 years ago. And we kind of put it aside, and we're ready to start thinking about this again. So we've done a lot of work in CCSD and creating a comprehensive curriculum to meet the needs of our students. But one of the populations that we have not really spent time with is our students with developmental disabilities. And these are our students who not necessarily enrolled in the regular health education class, particularly self-contained. And one of the things that we know statistically is that our students with developmental disabilities are our most vulnerable when it comes to sexual abuse. And we want to make sure that we are providing them with the education that they deserve as well, just like our regular education students. So coming up in March, we will have 2 to 3 different curriculums that we're going to look at and review. And it may be that we don't find anything that we like, and it may be that we like all of them, but it'll be up to you to decide whether or not this is something we want to implement and have our special education, exceptional education classes have access to provide to their students. We have some experts already in CCSD with this curriculum, and then we have some other curriculums outside that have never been really looked at. So that's going to be next on our plate for the next couple of months. So we're going into March, April, and it may be that we have a special call meeting in May to finish this work up. So before we get into that is the importance of us looking at the data. I want you to really see what's going on around in the Low Country and what our South Carolina Public Health says, and really kind of get your brain focused and ready to go before we start looking at curriculums. That being said, going into the 25-26 school year and the 26-27 school year, we have 2 curriculums in use already. One is the Resources from Advocates for Youth, and the other one is Heritage Keepers. Both of those are about to be up on their 5-year mark. And our bylaws state every 5 years, any curriculum that's on the process on the approved list has to come back up for renewal. And that's just to make sure that those resources are still up to date and on par and in line with everything that we're doing. So going into looking at curriculums for students with disabilities, this will be good practice because it's going to be pretty busy for the next 2 years with this committee in looking at curriculum. That was a lot. Any questions? So that being said, and I am just kind of skipping forward, Michelle, and I hope this is okay going into the other business. Next year, if you look, we have 7 vacancies that are going to be popping up for this committee. There's only 13 on the committee. So when we have a lot of turnaround and a lot of work, it does make everything a little bit more difficult because, you know, we're going through the motions all over again and training people. Everybody that's term is up. So if you hold one of these positions, medical, clergy, parent, not the students, because you guys are seniors, so we'll get new students. That's an every year thing. But our medical, clergy, and parent, each of you are up for reappointment. You can reapply if you want to keep that position. If you want to stay on for another 3-year term, you just have to submit an application just like you did the first time. So just know that just because your term's coming up doesn't mean that you're necessarily not going to be on the committee. In typical past, if you reapply, most of the time you're reappointed. But you know, things are different and things happen, so we never know what things are gonna look like. Also, with that being said, if you know anybody that would be a good fit for any of those vacancies that are open, you guys have the right to go out and appoint other people for those positions too. So start thinking about that, because come April, May, that's when the advertisements for those positions are going to start going out through CCSD and through all the media outposts. So again, anybody that you know that would be great, or you're like, oh, this, you know, just spread the word, get people to apply. And that's really it. My throat hurts, so I'm gonna stop talking right now.
We're good. Does anybody have any questions? I know I literally just said we're not going to bounce back to other parts of the agenda, but does anybody have any questions about any of that? I think the biggest probably homework assignment for us, like between now and March, is going over some of those reports, seeing how they, maybe seeing how they would apply, how we can adjust some of the curriculum, right? Okay. I don't want to be missing anybody, and I can't really see everybody, so just unmute your mic if you do have a question.
Just jumping back to the vacancies. So I got appointed in a weird way. So the terms are 3 years in length. Is that right?
Correct.
But I came in the midst of a term. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're technically finishing that 3-year term. So when you come in and when you replace someone, your term is their term.
Okay. And how many times can you reapply?
You can only serve 2 terms.
2 terms. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And they can be back to back, or, you know, you could take a term off and come back, but you only get 2 terms out of your lifetime.
Okay.
Based on the laws. So I apologize, you know, for being Zoom. This is, you know, where we are right now. My family has dropped like flies with the flu. So we're just trying to stay sanitized and healthy, but and I hope that you all can too. And you know, these meetings are much more productive in person when we can have that conversation. And I will check in on those who are not here, because we have some who haven't been here for consistently. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page of the work that we have ahead of us. But an email will come out from Michelle with specific guidelines of those steps that we talked about. But in between that email and then in between the next meeting of March 20th, the sole job is just look over that data, make some inferences, really wrap your brain around what's going around happening in our area of South Carolina, and how that might affect, you know, what we do in our schools, so that we can kind of come together as a community and really start making a difference, which we are doing. And so, you know, and I think when we come back, we can have maybe a deeper dive in that data too, when we're in person, and we can sit there and talk about it and have it on paper. Especially at the end of the year when we have all the data put together, where we can really compare 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I remember going over that data the last time, and it was super encouraging to see how how much increase we had in the scores. Doris, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say that, give me a minute, somebody's calling me. I want to say I'm sorry that your family is ill, but I think this was God's favor for me today because I really wanted to be here. I was in the ER this morning with a sciatica nerve issue, and if it wasn't on Zoom, I wouldn't have been able to make it. So I'm sorry your family was ill, but I believe that my God worked it out in my favor.
Yeah.
Glad you could be here on Zoom.
So I could be here.
I do have a question.
Sure.
I just want to clarify. So the curriculum we will be choosing in the next few months is just for students with disabilities? Just for
Correct.
students with disabilities. Are they currently getting any of this teaching? So they're not included in the data that we will be reviewing.
No.
This will be
No.
is this the first time that they will be included in this curriculum?
As part of CCSD, as part of a curriculum that we have built, correct?
Is it specifically designed for people with disabilities?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
you will see that. Yeah, it will look different than what we are using. And the big focus that I have noticed looking through all of them is really just it's almost like a safety awareness, like a sexual abuse aware, like, this is safe touch, not safe touch. This is my body. How do I take care of my body? And it's not so much into the biology side and all the STDs. It's really like keeping themselves safe and understanding when someone wants to hug you or talk to you, these are the proper ways that people should be, acting towards you and how to handle that and how to talk to other people.
Thank you. Feel better, Holly.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Am I allowed to, Holly, I'm sorry. I need like a crash course in Robert's rules. Am I allowed to just adjourn the meeting or do we have to motion? We have to motion, don't we? Okay.
Mhm.
Anyone like to motion to end our meeting?
I'll motion.
I can motion.
All right. We've got Amber and then we've got Maya. Do we need to vote
Right.
on
So
that?
I'm going to say
Okay.
that I put in the first one. Maya, you got the
Oh.
second. Excellent. That is
Okay.
awesome.
So I think our next meeting is for March 20th.
It's set for March 20th and it will be in person. Same time,
Wonderful.
5 p.m.
Everyone bring your binders
Bring your
Yes.
binders. Get
and
ready
all
to
your
work.
notes from all of the reports. Okay, perfect. All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Bye.